Picture this. On a rainy night, a kind man offers a homeless woman a ride. Shivering in Alaskan cold, she hops in.
If this is the same evening, I met a lady down at the homeless shelter, and she actually works there.
But when he stops at a gas station to use the ATM, she grabs his phone and slips away.
And I dropped my phone.
In the car?
In his truck, yeah.
You were in the front passenger seat?
Yeah, and when I reached down, I grabbed 2 phones.
A couple of days later, the police got involved, but surprisingly, it wasn't the homeless woman who was in trouble, but it was the kind man. But why?
What's happening is on this video, on these images, the person that's recording it is holding the recorder and is standing basically above this girl and strangling her.
He was a loving husband. He was a reliable employee. But what he also was is the Alaska's notorious SD card serial killer.
Did you see it first?
Him talking and his voice and her body laying on the floor of the hotel.
This is the shocking story of Brian Stephen Smith. Welcome to our channel. This true story will remind us, monsters often wear the mask of the ordinary.
Yeah, there was no accident. There was blood coming out. I put a towel over that.
Where did you hit her at?
Right here.
Temple?
Yeah.
Stay with us as we look into the twisted mind of Brian Stephen Smith. We look into his double life. We reveal the evidence that brought him down.
You think I hit this girl?
Well, like I said, there's videos of it. And I know it was your voice I could hear in the video.
Okay.
If you believe in spreading awareness about stories like this, hit subscribe and share. Brian Smith lived 2 completely different lives. At home, he was a caring husband. But when he wasn't with his wife, Brian's alter ego took over. He'd cruise around Anchorage in his black pickup truck, looking for something, or someone, that fed his dark desires. One rainy night, Valerie Kasler was sitting in her tent, trying to stay dry, when Brian pulled up in his truck. He rolled down the window and offered her a ride. Valerie, homeless and tired of the cold, decided to take him up on the offer.
And he pulls up, and I was homeless, living in a tent, and it was raining that night. And he goes, well, it's raining. You want to ride around with me? And I was like, sure.
They spent hours driving around, even stopping by the airport to watch planes. He didn't seem threatening, just a guy offering company on a wet night.
Did you go anywhere?
I probably would have driven around a bit, got some food and stuff.
Okay. Did you meet up with anybody, talk to anybody?
I can't remember. I probably would have. Between us, I have been known to sometimes go out and find a companion,
Okay. Did you do that, you think, that particular night?
I probably did, yeah.
You probably did?
Yeah.
Okay. So can you tell me about how that evening went down?
Well, if this is the same evening, I met a lady down at the homeless shelter, and she actually works there, and she stayed the night.
As the night progressed, Brian stopped at a gas station to use the ATM. He left Valerie alone in the truck. That's when something unusual happened. Valerie accidentally dropped her phone on the floor and reached down to grab it. That's when she noticed another phone, a second one, that wasn't hers. Without really thinking, she slipped Brian's phone into her pocket.
And I dropped my phone.
In the car?
In his truck, yeah.
You were in the front passenger seat?
Yeah, and when I reached down, I grabbed 2 phones.
Back at her tent, Valerie switched on the phone. She scrolled through the contents of the phone she'd stolen. One folder was marked as Homicide at Midtown Marriott. That had 39 images and 12 videos in it. What she saw was beyond disturbing. One video started with a man holding a camera. On the floor of a hotel room lay a woman still alive. The cameraman stepped on the woman's throat, muttering, "You're not leaving here alive. I'm killing you."
What did you see at first?
Him talking and his voice and her body laying on on the floor of the hotel.
She was alive, though, at that point.
Yeah, and he stepped on her throat and he said, "You're not leaving here alive. I'm killing you."
Then it got worse. He pulled out a wire and wrapped it around her neck, ending her life. But even after the woman was gone, he continued to fulfill his twisted carnal desires.
Are you still alive?
I watched all of it, and he pulled out a wire, put it around her neck, and she was dead, and he was still doing things to her.
Valerie was devastated, but she continued to explore the contents on the phone, and that's when she came across images of her, dead on a rolling hotel cart near a black pickup truck covered by a sheet. That's the same pickup truck she was in with that kind man. That sent chills down her spine, but she can't figure how did he manage to get her body out of the hotel without anyone noticing. The dates on the videos and images show they were taken on September 4th, 2019, less than a month before. Valerie knew what she had was damning evidence, but turning it over to the authorities felt like putting a target on her back. But she couldn't keep this to herself. Summoning every ounce of courage, Valerie took the SD card from the phone with the videos and gave it to the police on September 30th, 2019. She lied to the officers that she had found the SD card in a parking lot. She didn't want to admit that she stole it from Brian Stephen Smith. So even though she knew who the killer was, Detective Brendan Lee, who got the SD card from her at the station, had no idea who the man was. When Detective Brendan Lee and his team viewed the videos, they couldn't believe their eyes.
You live, you die, you live, you die, you live, you die. Sadly, in my movies, everyone dies. I get the Oscar. Oh, really? Okay, so please just finish. I'm tired.
The killer in the video was behind the camera. This faceless killer sounded like he had lost control. From the wording he used, it was clear he was documenting something, methodically, as if he was following a script. It was planned, as the timing between each action was calculated, deliberate. The more the investigators listened, the more they realized this wasn't some crime of passion. It was something darker.
I don't know why I would have done this. Not, it can't, what I'm trying to say is it can't be anger.
It's pretty controlled. It's pretty specific.
Mm.
It's pretty targeted. I don't think that either. I mean, it's pretty calculated. You obviously know what you're doing. You're telling her what you're doing. You're telling the viewers, in this case happens to be the police, what you're doing. It's pretty calculated.
Mm.
There's some anger that comes out, but it's very controlled, very intentional, callous act.
You're very comfortable doing it too.
Which makes us concerned.
He wasn't just killing for the sake of it, he was recording it too. It became clear he was making money off it, turning these ugly acts into a form of twisted entertainment.
Well, like I said, there's videos of it. There's video of it, there's audio of it, there's a voice I've been talking to you now for almost 30, 40 minutes, and I know it was your voice I could hear in the video.
Okay.
And if you'd like to hear some of that, I can refresh your memory with it.
The same pictures are on the SD card with your truck that you said was your truck.
Yeah, these are all on the same as your truck here. So.
It sounds like me. What's happening when that's...
What's happening is on this video, on these images, the person that's recording it is holding the recorder and is standing basically above this girl and strangling her. And so we need to talk about this. We need to get ahead of this, Mr. Smith.
I don't want to act stupid, but I don't remember anything. I don't remember anything.
Okay. But this occurred, and like I said, the photos are timestamped. This occurred in that room 323, 323, on September 4th, early mornings.
Yeah.
At the time that you were at the hotel.
The 4th. I'm not denying. I'm not saying you're lying, but I don't remember anything like this.
The footage was disturbing. The worst part was when the cameraman placed his foot on the victim's throat, suffocating her. The sound of her dying breaths filled the tape.
If you say that happened and people understand that, you hear that, like, okay, well, I get that.
Well, me too. I wouldn't believe someone who said I didn't. You know, like I said to you right in the beginning, if I was on a anger trip or whatever, the first moment you hit somebody, you'll come out of it. You know, you sober up from the first little hit on the person.
Well, that's not what you did.
Because they kept going for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, so that's...
You put your hand on her throat, called her some names, you slapped her, you told her she was going to die. Mm. So you didn't come out of it.
Yeah,
you came out of it the next morning when you found the body in your truck, apparently. But then you really can't argue that, because you actually took photos of her 2 days later in the back of your truck of this body you just found in the back of your truck. You know, and you're telling us how you took photos of these other women, kind of to bolster, but yet you don't want to admit that that's what that last photo was of her at 1:10 in the morning at mile 108.5, where your phone was, where your Google was, and where that photo was taken. Mm-hmm. That was bolstering for what you did to her the previous night, just like this is bolstering what you did to her. This is just a lesser degree. This is just what everybody does. This just went one step further.
As the cameraman strangled her with a wire, the chilling reality set in. He wasn't just trying to end her life. He was berating her, fondling her, all while filming it. It was as if he was making a movie, like he was creating a sick masterpiece for an audience. Finding something like this was really unsettling. They couldn't see the man's face, but they did hear his voice. One officer immediately recognized the killer's voice. It had uncanny likeness to a man's voice with a similar accent from a previous case.
So what you're saying is that definitely you talking on the recording, on the audio there, that you don't recall that?
That sounds like my voice. I've got a unique voice.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
It's English mixed with the Dutch. Mm-hmm.
And you talking and like I said, there's about 12 of these videos, and I've watched every single one of them multiple times, unfortunately. And you talking, you know what you're doing in those videos. I mean, you're describing what's going on in those videos. And so, Mr. Smith, I don't believe that you don't remember this happening. And like I said, we need to talk. We need to get ahead of this, because this is pretty big here.
Yeah.
That man had no criminal record in Alaska. He actually reported a crime to the police in September 2019 that, while he was at work, his vehicle was vandalized. The passenger side window was smashed, and his wallet, documents, a briefcase with phones, and some electronics, including a GoPro, were stolen. That man was none other than Brian Stephen Smith.
And like I said, I have some stuff I want to talk to you, and I want to hear what you have to say, and I appreciate you being attentive to me. So, like I said, we have some matters we need to clear up with you, and I just wanted to ask you: do you have any idea, any thought in your head about what we might want to talk to you today about?
No, my truck was broken into a few months, well, about a month or two ago, and that's why I don't have a driver's license. My wallet was stolen.
Okay.
And I had some papers that were in the car with me.
Okay.
And some stuff. Is it about that?
Where was it at that your truck was broken into?
It was at University Lake.
University Lake that's the one over there by UAA, kind of off Elmore Road. Is that the University Lake?
Yes, it's right there between the Native Hospital and Providence. Yeah.
Okay. What day was it that it was broken into?
Oh, I can't remember.
Did you report it to the police?
Yes.
Okay.
And they used my credit card to go buy a whole lot of stuff, so that's what I was worried about.
Okay.
And one of my bags had a whole lot of confidential papers in it.
Okay.
Things that I used with my immigration.
Okay.
And so I was worried about those things getting in the wrong hands, identity fraud and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was all Lee needed to dig deeper. He checked the Marriott guest list from the night the videos were recorded. Sure enough, Brian Stephen Smith's name was right there. Brian Smith had stayed there from September 2nd to the 4th.
A few weeks ago, probably a month or two, I had a fight with my wife, and I went and stayed at At a Marriott.
Okay.
It's the one that's behind Moose's Tooth.
Okay,
Yeah.
behind the Moose's Tooth.
Yeah.
Okay, and what, you said about 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
you and your wife stayed there?
No, I stayed there. Yeah.
You stayed there?
Yeah.
What did you say about your wife, though?
Oh, we had a fight. So.
Oh, you had a fight? Okay.
Yeah.
So about what date do you think that was?
I can't remember.
Okay.
I can look on my phone.
Okay.
Or it'll say, like, how was your stay or whatever,
Okay. And how many nights did you rent it? Do you have to, as an employee, do you have to rent the room, or how does that work?
Oh, yeah, I just rent the room, yeah.
Okay, and how many nights did you rent the room for?
Probably about 2 nights.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And when you went to the hotel, what did you do? What was your evening like?
Well, after a fight with your wife, you usually drink a hell of a lot, so it did involve quite a bit of alcohol, so...
Okay.
They also got a warrant for his cell phone. For the detectives, it was a huge breakthrough. Now they had a name and a trail to follow.
And now is that one like the one you're missing? Because you said you're missing one out of the GoPro.
No, well, the whole GoPro's gone.
Oh, the whole GoPro's gone.
Yeah.
But was that the type of card that might have been in that GoPro when it was gone?
No.
Okay.
I've got one of these that I've been using for my 3D printer.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I've got these green ones. The other one's all black.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and so like I said, this was brought to APD and given to me, and like I said, I viewed the images and the videos on that SD card.
Yeah.
And that's obviously that's how I got to you. That's how I figured out who you are.
Okay.
And that's what we need to clear up that matter of what's on that SD card.
Okay, what's on the card?
Just days after the police received the disturbing videos, human remains were found near mile 18 of the Seaward Highway. The victim was a woman with long dark hair. It didn't take long for investigators to connect the dots. This had to be the woman in the videos. With a prime suspect in Brian Stephen Smith and a body now identified, the race was on to collect as much evidence as possible. The FBI stepped in with crucial information. They told detectives that Brian's phone had pinged off a tower near mile 108 of the Seaward Highway.
What kind of phone do you have?
I got a Galaxy Note 5.
Okay. How long have you had that phone?
About a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that phone linked to the number you gave me a minute ago, 205?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've had that phone more than a year, or that number? Or how long have you had that number?
Oh, I had that number about 4 years. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So part of the way this investigation has gone so far is that we got that number based on records, state records that you've given it for many different reasons. We linked that number to you.
Yeah.
And I obtained the records from AT&T via search warrant. And what that entails is basically the way your cell phone works, and you probably know this, is as you go around town, your cell phone pings off towers that are all over Anchorage, and it shows us basically historically of where you've been.
Okay.
It was a key piece of the puzzle. The phone data and the photo aligned perfectly with the time and location where her remains were discovered. This was the smoking gun investigators needed to tie Brian to the crime. The victim's name was released on October 10th as 30-year-old Kathleen Jo Henry. She had been active on social media right up until 5 days before the videos were taken at the hotel. Kathleen was originally from Eek, a small community made up mostly of Native Alaskans with fewer than 500 people. It's deep in the Alaskan wilderness. It's about 400 miles away, surrounded by mountains. Kathleen had moved to Anchorage. She was divorced. She earned her GED in 2012 at the age of 23 while she was in prison. Her criminal record dated back to 2007 with multiple charges including assault, disorderly conduct, drunk driving, resisting arrest, and theft. Most recently, on January 12, 2019, she had assaulted someone in the 4th degree. Despite her past, it seemed like Kathleen was trying to turn things around. She was looking forward to the future and was loved by those around her. At the time of her death, Brian Smith was away from Alaska, vacationing in Virginia with his wife. In a strange twist, the SD card containing the videos was given to the police the day he left Alaska on October 8th. He flew back into Ted Stevens International Airport and started a new job at the Residence Inn. It was a different hotel from the crime scene, located near University Lake. Detective Brendan Lee wasn't about to wait for Brian to strike again. When Smith returned to Anchorage from a trip with his wife, Lee was there, waiting at the airport. Smith never saw it coming.
Mr. Smith, I'm Detective Lee, the Anchorage Police Department. I just want to show you my badge,
Yeah.
my ID, so you know who you're talking to. This is Detective Bell, my partner. We have some matters we wanted to clear up with you and talk to you today, so I appreciate you coming up here with these guys and talking to me. Obviously, we're here at the airport. They brought you up here to talk to me, so we have some kind of a formality to get by. I have to read you what's called a Miranda warning. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to read this to you, and if you have any questions at all while I'm reading it, just feel free to stop me and ask me, and I'll explain it the best I can, okay?
The police caught Brian completely off guard. He had just flown all the way from D.C., and you know how exhausting those long flights can be.
You said you stayed there 2 nights, right?
Yeah.
And this was the second night that you're telling us about
This would
right
have
now?
been the second night, yeah.
What did you do the first night? So the first night you stayed there, tell us about that night.
That night, I would have probably just fallen dead asleep, if I can put it that way.
Okay, so that you didn't have somebody else, you didn't meet another companion, have somebody else there the first night?
No, I would have been like just tired from the fight. You know, you're mentally tired. You just want to go home and just.
Brian had just endured a grueling 10-hour flight across 4 time zones. He was drained, both physically and mentally. The timing couldn't have been worse for him. Exhaustion had stripped away his sharpness, leaving him vulnerable and unprepared for what was about to come.
I just wanted to show you these pictures, see if they would help you kind of refresh the girl from that night.
Mm-hmm. No, that's not her.
Not her?
Just short hair.
Short hair, okay.
She looks like a drug addict.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen this woman before?
No.
Have you ever had any contact with her at all?
No. I have. Look, in the last 5 years that I've been here, probably starting about 2 years ago, I've probably gone out and picked up a girl or two. So I might have seen her before, but not fresh in my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The detectives didn't dive right in. Brian Stephen Smith sat across from them, unaware of just how much they already knew. The goal wasn't to tip him off, but to watch how he reacted.
This is one of the images on there. Part of it is kind of cut down a little bit, but can you tell me what's in that photo?
There's somebody's feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whose feet are those?
I don't know.
Okay. I'm looking at your shoes. I mean, it looks like the shoes you're wearing right now.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Okay. Is it safe to say those are your feet in that picture?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not the only person that's got shoes like this.
Okay.
I did recently buy these. I can't tell you when.
Okay, you can't tell me when. How long have you had them?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
I don't know.
Where'd you buy them from?
These I would have got at Fred Meyer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just want to show you some other images here that, and like I said, I've watched the videos and the images on there, and I've watched them multiple times, and that's why we're here. That's how I knew to talk to you. So these are just some of the other images on there.
Okay.
So what can you tell me about these photos?
This looks like someone that's really been beaten up a bit.
Okay. And these are images. These are images, but there's also videos of this person.
Yeah.
And another person in the room as well. And that's why we're here to talk to you about.
How many people in the room?
At least 2.
Oh.
So we need to address this. We need to clear this up.
Okay.
Mr. Smith.
You think I hit this girl?
Well, like I said, there's videos of it. There's video of it, there's audio of it, there's a voice I've been talking to you now for almost 30, 40 minutes, and I know it was your voice I could hear in the video.
Okay.
For the next hour and a half, it was the same thing on repeat.
And the pictures, I don't know, you probably know about this. I think you're into technology and stuff.
Okay.
Photographs, they have a time and date stamp, so the photographs are time and date stamped. So they basically, the photographs time and date stamp matched at the time that you were at that hotel room.
Okay.
So that's how this SD card has led me to you.
Okay.
And like I said, there's a number of images on there, and there's a number of videos on there, and I brought some of the pictures to kind of go over with you about.
Brian sat there, shaking his head, insisting, "I didn't do that," over and over, like a broken record. His constant denials weren't a surprise, but they were watching for cracks in his story that might give him away.
The same pictures are on the SD card with your truck that you said was your truck.
Yeah, these are all on the same as your truck here. So what's happening is on this video, on these images, the person that's recording it is holding the recorder and is standing basically above this girl and strangling her.
The detectives weren't buying it. They had evidence. They had the videos. And they had all the time in the world to wait for him to slip.
So then I just have more photos, and then this is more of the images that were on the phone. And this one's out in the parking lot, your truck again. Do you recall that?
Who would record stuff like this? That looks like a Marriott card. That looks like my truck parked over there.
It is.
I do not remember anything like this. Honestly.
Where is this girl now?
I don't know. She's not the girl I picked up. I can tell you now, she's not the one I picked up. The one I picked up was short hair. And I dropped... when I dropped her off, several people waved at her and greeted her. So she's known down there. You know, if we can go down there and I can see the people working there, I can tell you, I can point her probably out to you. You know.
Okay.
But this is not the girl I picked up.
Okay, but that's definitely your voice on those audios. And I have no doubt about it. Like I said, I mean, your shoes are in the picture, your truck's in the picture.
The detectives started laying it all out, one step at a time. They showed photos, close-ups of Brian's hands and his stomach.
Do you remember that photo? Because you don't remember these cards. Do you remember taking that on your phone?
No.
So you don't. So you don't remember taking this photograph?
No, that is me. That's my stomach. That's definitely me. Let's put it this way. This might sound bad, but it wouldn't have been such a big deal that I remember that photograph. You know, I might have just wanted to record me and a girl doing something. You know, like yeah, just take a photo of.
But you remember taking that?
I remember taking photographs of this girl.
And you remember taking this?
She had an amazing little... Yeah. This was a... This is going to sound sick, but it was like a joke, you know, like a...
Do you remember that?
I don't remember. It wasn't a big event, so... yes, I took that photo. Yes, okay. I did. But I don't remember physically taking it. I don't remember.
But you remember taking all those? So
I remember taking photos of this girl. She had a very, very nice little...
So the only thing you don't remember doing is taking pictures of this dead girl. You remember all these other people, but you don't remember the dead one.
This I don't remember.
They also showed photos inside of his truck, even the license plate.
I did not realize this. I did not know this.
No, you didn't know it, Brian.
Yeah. You're still saying you didn't know that.
Brian, you knew what you did. You knew what you did in the SD card, and you had it in your head. That you had that little bit of glimmer of light that maybe they haven't found that SD card, maybe they don't have that SD card, and they'll never tie that body over there to me. You had that little bit of hope, but then you were on the other side. You're like, but if they did, this is what I'm going to be ready. This is what I'm going to say. And
you clearly didn't know you were going to have your license plate in the photos, right?
Yeah, that's. I would not do... If I had to do something like this, I would not do that.
That's right. You wouldn't plan that this way.
Yeah.
Right? So clearly it wasn't planned.
Yeah.
It wasn't thought out very well. It was something that happened.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something that was planned. There was absolutely... You can tell there's no planning on this.
Yeah.
Each piece of evidence was another crack in the wall Brian had built with his denials. They weren't rushing him, just steadily building the pressure, making it harder and harder for him to keep pretending.
Okay, well, it was your phone, the 205 number. Yeah. It was your vehicle, your truck. There's cameras out on the highway at the way station, so there's no doubt about it that
inbound
you were
and
out there.
Yeah.
No doubt about it that you were out there.
Okay, I don't remember anything else. Really, I'm sorry.
I think you do remember it, Mr. Smith, and and like I said, we need to talk about it, because right now, this right here is a small portion of this investigation, but this is just a small part of a very large investigation, and we're talking to people, we're talking to your wife, okay?
When have you spoken to her?
We're talking to her right now.
Right now.
Okay, and like I said, this is going to hit the news, and this might be your one chance to talk to give your side of it, to give your story. And that's why I'm here to talk to you today. I didn't have to come here and talk to you. I could have just had him take you. But I wanted to give you that opportunity to explain this, because we got the evidence. We know you were out there. Your phone shows you were out there.
Yeah, well, it's showing it, yeah. I'm not...
So we need to talk about it. We need to address it.
It took a couple of hours, but Smith starts to crack.
Yeah, well, look, this sounds very serious. No matter what, I'm going to be in deep shit. So, okay, I'll tell you what I remember.
Okay.
The next day at work, I saw something dripping out the back of my truck. And I was like, what the hell? And I opened up, and there was somebody there underneath. Stuff. There was a blue, like a tarp at the back of my truck. And the back flap doesn't really lock. I've actually put a padlock on now since then. And I saw somebody, and I was like, what the hell, what must I do, what must I do? And because I've been out before, I thought, who's going to believe me? It's like the guy that gets stopped and he's got drugs in his pocket, and it's like, it's not mine, that's the way I was feeling, No one's going to believe me. So I was thinking for a long time, what the hell, what must I do? And then the one night I thought, well, I've got to get rid of this, I can't. And I drove out, and I did. I went and dumped it. But I was thinking of phoning in and saying, hey, I saw somebody standing there, that didn't look good. So yeah, I did dump it, but yeah.
Okay, I appreciate your honesty.
Brian Stephen Smith was the kind of guy you wouldn't think twice about if you passed him on the street. On the surface, he seemed completely ordinary. He went to work, came home to his wife, and took vacations. But beneath that everyday exterior was something much darker. He was living two separate lives. One was the picture-perfect husband and co-worker. The other, a calculated predator.
And we can tell that this is something that's going to be hard for you to talk about. Well, we can tell you that you're not telling the truth about remembering this event.
I do not remember this.
On the videos, on several of them.
Yeah.
In my movies, sadly, everybody dies. Bitch, what are my followers going to think of you? People need to know when they're being serial killed. These are things you're saying to her while you're doing that.
Why would I say that? That's stupid to say things like that.
You weren't anticipating that we were going to get a hold of this card, and you weren't anticipating that the railroad was going to drive by and see bones laying on the side of the railroad track. You didn't anticipate that.
What do you think a normal person, reasonable person, if I came out and I found a dead body in my back seat of my car or in the back of my truck, what would a reasonable person who's never had any contact with the law, as far as I know, right? Never had any negative contact with the law. There's video there that would explain it, right? If somebody put that body in the back of your truck, why would you not call it? A reasonable person would call the police and say, hey, I found a dead body. What they wouldn't do is wait 2 days, keep the dead body in the back of their car, drive it home, park it in the driveway, and then take it out to a spot and not only dump the body over the guardrail, but take the other stuff that's with her to a different place. What does that look like? And then take pictures of her in the back of your truck. Yeah. So nobody else could have done that.
For the police, this hidden side of Brian Stephen Smith was finally coming into focus. The evidence showed just how carefully he had worked to keep those two worlds apart, but now they were colliding in a way he couldn't control. Brian Stephen Smith's story began far from Alaska in South Africa. Life there hadn't been kind to him. A failed business deal had drained him financially, and he was looking for a way out. That's when he met Stephanie, a folk singer from Anchorage, Alaska. They connected through an online game. What started as casual chats quickly turned into something deeper. Stephanie, older and full of life, fell hard for Brian. For him, it seemed like an escape, a chance to leave everything behind and start fresh. There's nothing left for him in South Africa. When Brian moved to Alaska, he found comfort in the Alaskan wilderness. The vast landscapes reminded him of home. But life with Stephanie wasn't as picture-perfect as it seemed. Brian struggled to adapt to her world. She was older, with an established circle of friends who tried to welcome him, but he never quite fit in.
Did you do this to her because you were angry at your wife?
No.
And your wife rejected you, and you were, I mean, what? So what?
No, my wife has never rejected me. But my wife actually, she wants to have a more physical relationship, but
it hasn't been happening, right?
Yeah, it hasn't been happening. It's difficult to, it's complicated to understand. I once told her that she spoiled sex because it's such a procedure to get the whole thing going, you know.
The age gap didn't help either. While Stephanie wanted stability, Brian's wandering eye was already leading him down a different path.
Who's that?
That's a girl that I met, and we screwed a little bit, and once more time I cheated on my wife with this one, and she was passed out drunk.
Yeah. And when was that?
This was actually recently, a few weeks ago.
After or before you were at the hotel?
After this, yeah. She was drunk out of her mind. Yeah.
So after this, where did you meet her at? So did you pick her up?
Yeah, this girl I picked up, yeah.
Where'd you go?
I can't remember.
Before long, he found someone else, Alicia. She wasn't just an escape. She shared his appetite for something darker. Alicia Youngblood was a young woman Brian met at work. She was someone who brought excitement into his life. At first, they were just drinking buddies, but it quickly escalated into something far more intense. Their relationship thrived on secrecy and risk. Alicia wasn't just interested in Brian. She craved violence and danger. It was what excited her, what kept her intrigued. She also liked hearing about dark, twisted things. She told him all these wild stories about herself, stuff about being chased by the FBI and robbing banks. Brian knew they weren't real, but it didn't matter.
In my mind, I was gloating to, well, not gloating, but I was, Alicia and I were doing our little jokes about things, and this instant here, my little private joke in my head was that I actually took her to a real site, but we both, well, she thought that we were both joking about it, you know, because like I said, we were joking about all of our little things, you know.
But you made up the other part about where it happened and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all the other stuff I made up, and it was, this just happened to be real, you know.
Alicia's stories opened a door for Brian to fabricate his own. One day, in the heat of their conversations, he claimed he had killed someone. She loved it. She loved him for it. So he decided to take her to the dumping site.
I actually took Alicia there. Because I was boasting to her.
Took her to
Yeah, I was boasting to her. And, but I knew, but this is like a year after, or 2 years after.
So you took her there about a year after it happened.
I knew it wasn't there. I knew that the person wasn't there because I'd driven past a few times, and from the road, I could see that what I'd covered with was not there anymore.
Okay, so somebody had found it.
So that's why I know you guys must have
somebody found the remains before you took Alicia out there a year later.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you were out there and noticed that it was found?
I think I actually went past a few months later, like 3-4 months afterwards.
Okay, and so you took Alicia out there would have been in this time of year, maybe in 18? July, August of 18?
Yeah, around about this time, yeah, because it was close to, yes, she left in August. So it was, this whole thing of ours was like, because we knew we were leaving, she's leaving and stuff, so our whole thing like crescended the month before August.
For Brian, the affair with Alicia wasn't just about physical attention, it was about the power of living a secret life. Alicia's influence pushed him into a world where fantasy and reality began to blur. With every made-up story and every shared moment, their bond deepened. But this wasn't just a love affair, it was a dangerous game, and it was only a matter of time before the line between fiction and fact disappeared entirely. Turns out, Brian Stephen Smith had a Quora account under the name Bradley Phillips. You know, the site where people ask and answer questions. He was pretty active on it, but what it revealed about him wasn't great. In fact, it painted a picture of someone filled with hate. Detectives knew they were dealing with two sides of Brian Stephen Smith, the devoted husband and hardworking man versus the secretive, reckless killer. They decided to lean into this idea, urging good Brian to come clean about the crimes bad Brian had committed. Smith knew he was cornered. He had no explanation for all the evidence against him.
What do you think of yourself?
I don't like it. I'm disgusted that I've done something like this.
Do you think that, and I'm not saying it was entirely intentional, but do you think that you, the good Brian that we're talking to, apparently we haven't seen the bad Brian yet because bad Brian did this. Do you think good Brian wanted bad Brian to get caught? That's why somebody made it so easy for us?
So, yes, so we're not at a stalemate. I've done that. I just don't know why.
You just have no explanation for good or bad of why
it's
you did it, why it happened.
Yeah. The photographs are stupid. You say that somebody took the SD card out of my truck and I said, no, give it back, it belongs to work or something. That's what you said. If I knew, if I was trying to hide away and not get caught, I would not let something like it happen. I wouldn't have
seems
an SD
careless.
card. I wouldn't have an SD card.
But all this seems careless too.
Very, yeah. That's somebody that wants to get caught. And you're in a hotel room, for God's sake.
In your own hotel, in your own chain of, using your own name with your own employee discount.
Yeah.
With your own truck. Documenting every step of what you did.
After hours of questioning, Brian Stephen Smith finally gave them what they were after, a full confession.
I hope that someday, when you are ready to talk about this, that you're willing to do that so that we can learn and so that we can understand that. Because what we've been doing for the last week or days is looking at that thing, that video and those photographs, studying you and trying to figure it out. So if you ever get to that point where you're willing to talk and tell us why, if you can figure that out,
I owe you that.
I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
Keep that with you.
Well, if I'm going to prison, I'm not going to...
You'll get to keep that. You get to make phone calls.
I've got no one to talk to now.
What's that?
I've got no one to talk to now, so none of my friends will ever...
Well,
this is my fault. I've dug my own grave here. I did this to myself. I can't blame anybody else, you know. So, Brendan, yeah.
The one thing I wanted to ask you is your truck. Did you ever wash it out, spray it out, anything like that?
After she was in
the
it.
body.
Are we going to find biological evidence in your truck? Did you bleach it? Did you wash it?
At the back, I had a piece of carpeting at the back, and there was a bit of blood on it. So I cut that piece of carpet out and I tossed it in a dumpster, and I did spray bleach on there to try and kill the germs and whatever. That was a wise thing to do, unlike everything else. So yeah, so you'll see the back of my truck. It's cut. You know.
The detectives were ready to wrap it up. They had their killer. The case was closed.
So what we have is a search warrant that we're going to serve on you, and it's basically as simple as collecting a sample of your DNA, which is swabbing the inside of your mouth. We're going to get some photographs of you while you're clothed and while you're unclothed.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there and explain what's going to happen next. So.
And we're going to take your shoes. We're going to have, and then we're going to ultimately take your clothes, just because we have the search warrant for that. All right.
Are you going to take me off to prison?
Yes, that's the step at the end of this night.
Okay. So I'm not going to see my wife again.
Well, that depends on what she does. I don't know if they're done talking to her. I don't know what the extent of that is. I doubt very much we're done at your house. But we're seizing everything. We have a search warrant to search the house. We've taken the truck. We have a search warrant to search the truck, obviously for biological evidence. And I don't know what all we're going to find. Or what else? Are we going to find anything else in those searches?
I don't know.
You don't know? Have you ever killed anybody else? I'll just be straight up with you.
No.
Are we going to find any evidence that you're attached to any missing persons either here or South Africa?
No.
But just as they were preparing to leave, Smith dropped the bombshell. What followed next would shake everyone to their core. The confession wasn't just about the murder they already knew about. Smith was about to reveal another victim, one they hadn't even suspected.
Are you guys in a rush to go home?
Are we in a rush?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk some more?
We're not in a rush. We got
all night.
I have 2 days.
I saw your ears do that.
You know what? I mean, that's what we do. We love to talk.
Some time ago, I can't remember when, picked up a very drunk girl. My wife was gone. She was away for the weekend. I took her home. And
Brian Stephen Smith, who had been oddly composed up until that point, suddenly volunteered details of a second murder. At first, the detectives couldn't believe their ears. That's when it hit them. This wasn't just a one-time thing. They had a serial killer on their hands.
Are we going to find any evidence that you're attached to any missing persons either here or South Africa?
no, that's big talk. That I told you that was just big talk between.
Okay, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't.
Yeah,
ask,
you have to ask. Yeah.
Right, you know, because the video that we watch, frankly, it doesn't look like an amateur. Everything else does, but it doesn't look like the person in that video. It doesn't look like it's the first time they've killed somebody. You're enjoying yourself, killing her.
He wasn't just confessing to murder, he was opening up a Pandora's box. It was a breakthrough moment for the detectives. The hunt wasn't over. It had just begun. Smith wasn't done. There were more victims.
I know you guys are doing the good cop, bad cop.
We're not really trying to do that. We're both pretty good cops, I think.
I say we're pretty good, yeah.
That's what I can't understand. You're both trying to be good. Who's the
Well,
bad?
we are just good. We don't do the good cop.
And I appreciate that. And everything you've done is, I really appreciate that. I know I'm going to burn already, so, and I don't want you to have to waste your time.
We appreciate that.
But yeah, so I shot this girl and then I went and dumped her out on that little side road going towards Butte. When you turn off the highway.
By the Exclutant Power Plant?
Yeah, around about that area, yeah. You must have found her.
You may have.
Yeah.
How long ago was that about?
Oh my God, 2, 3, maybe 3 years ago.
3?
It was a long time ago.
What time of year was it?
It wasn't winter because it was green.
Okay.
Yeah.
So fall or summer?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm really sorry. When I say I don't know, I mean it.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I appreciate it.
I'm saying really all the time.
I can believe that. It's been 3 years.
Yeah.
His wife was out of town, so he went out for a drink. He hit the streets looking for some liquor when he saw her.
Yeah, my wife was gone. Yeah.
Do you remember where she went?
No, but she usually goes to her aunt in Kodiak. She usually goes and visits there now.
Her aunt? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
This girl was... I'd also just gone to the Safeway to go get something, and as I was driving off, she was on the side there, and she actually seemed like a nice person. And she wanted booze, I knew that. She was drunk. She had a half a bottle of R&R on her there. And I think that's actually why I stopped, because I had some booze, but I didn't know if I had enough, so I was like, you know, that attracted me to her. I picked her up and I said, hey, you want some warm food and a warm place to sleep tonight? And she was like, yes, sure. And she jumped in, but she was really drunk. She was slurring it.
He brought her home, but he was nervous. He was afraid she'd leave behind her scent and that his wife would notice, so he told her to take a shower. He went to the garage, grabbed his pistol, and told her to go to the shower. When she refused, things took a darker turn.
I took her home and she fell asleep on the couch in front of the TV, and she was smelling. I knew she was homeless then. You know, she was stinking, and I was getting upset. And I said to her, go take a shower, you know, because now there's smell in the house. You know, Stephanie would smell like there was a homeless person in the house, and she wouldn't do it. She kept saying no, and I was worried that she's going to vomit now, because then I realized that she really had been drinking a lot. No excuse, but I'd also been drinking a hell of a lot. Like I said, when Stephanie goes, that's Brian time. Or as you call it, Brad time. I can let my hair down. I can just relax and get rid of the whole stress of being married all the time. And yeah, and, I don't know. I clearly remember this. And again, I'm not lying to you. I don't remember. I can't visualize this girl. But I went through to the garage and I got my little pistol there. And I said to her, go shower, and she wouldn't. And I just did that. And I
while she was on the couch.
Yeah, I just shot her. There was no. The messed up thing, I can tell you honestly, there was no emotion there. It was just, you're not listening to me, go shower, you're not listening to me. You know, I knew that the longer she stays there, the worse trouble I'm going to get in with Stephanie.
His wife never saw it coming. She didn't notice anything off, never suspected a thing. The police spent 12 hours searching their home, collecting everything they could find. Among the items were electronics and a handful of SD cards. Clues that would soon unravel the horrors he had been hiding.
One of the things that we're doing, obviously, when in searching your house and searching your electronics, is looking through that. Is there any other evidence or things on your computers or your phones or anything else that are similar to this? Any videos of you doing anything? Any photographs of dead people? Anything like that they're going to find that we need to know about?
No. Like I said, the only thing is that girl that was on that sheet, that was under that suffocating girl. That's I might have saved that. Okay, and you will find some videos of me and Alicia.
The evidence lined up perfectly with Brian's story. 6 months earlier, a human skull had been discovered at a site he mentioned. Smith had said it was pierced by a bullet.
So
if we got you a computer with Google Maps or something on it, would you be able to and be willing to show us about where you think you might have?
Yeah, I can show you further out
there. We appreciate that.
And soon, police found an SD card at his home with a video of the same woman lying naked on the floor. Forensics confirmed the victim was Veronica Abuchuk, a woman from Alaska who had disappeared from the streets of Anchorage. Turns out, Veronica had been Valerie's best friend. Yes, the same homeless woman to hand over the SD card to Detective Brendan Lee. Valerie loved her deeply. They both had their own battles with alcohol, but they were like family to one another. Valerie remembered the last time she spoke to her friend. Veronica had told her she was going to La Cristo to get a bottle and meet up with someone. Valerie never imagined it would be Smith, and that would be the last time she saw her.
Veronica was my best friend. And I loved the hell out of her. I knew her daughters, you know. They wasn't working girls. They were just women that had drinking problems, you know. I remember the last time I talked to her. She said she was going to the liquor store. She's going to get a bottle. And she had to go meet up with somebody. That must have been him, because that was the last time I ever saw her.
48-year-old Brian Stephen Smith, an immigrant from South Africa who had just become a U.S. citizen, pleaded not guilty in court. He had already confessed to both killings. In a press conference, Anchorage's deputy district attorney revealed that a grand jury had indicted Smith on 13 felony charges. Smith confessed to being the man in the video. He admitted to sneaking the body out of the hotel and into his truck. He even confessed to dumping her body and to committing another murder, the murder of Veronica. Smith's photo evidence and his confession left no doubt in the minds of the detectives. They had their man, and the case was all but closed. So how will Smith defend himself in court? How will he prove he is not guilty? Well, Smith tried to claim his confession was nothing but a role-play scenario he had created with Alicia Youngblood. According to Smith, the story about meeting Veronica, taking her home, and shooting her was just a fiction he made up. Smith suggested that he had to cover his tracks. Alicia might have been the one who told the police about the second murder. Well, at the time of his confession, Alicia didn't know the police was onto him, but after his arrest, she came forward with her side of the story. Youngblood secretly called the tip line. When police spoke to her, she was nervous but eventually shared what she knew. Alicia told them Smith had shown her a video of a dead woman, a video that left her convinced it was real. In the footage, Smith was holding a GoPro, and what he did to the woman disturbed her.
Would you remember her hair length? Anything distinctive about her clothing she might have been wearing?
No. No.
Remember her name?
No.
Do you remember reading anything about any remains being found?
No. And I actually did look.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, I did lie to you guys. Those pictures I showed Alicia, they were the real ones.
Of what? So that was a real photo of you doing that to the person you shot. Was that before or after you shot her?
After.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I actually did show that to Alicia, but I deleted those photos.
From what? What were those photos on?
They were on one of my old computers that I sold a long time ago already.
Alicia had once been enamored with Smith, but after that moment, she wanted nothing more to do with him. She tried to get him to share evidence with her so she could help the police, but now he was careful. The trial for the murders of Veronica Abuchuk and Kathleen Henry began in October 2019. Smith's past finally caught up with him. It was time to show the world what a monster he is. Witnesses shared their stories, and the evidence against him was undeniable. The chilling photos, the videos, and the confessions painted a clear picture of his horrific acts. Every detail brought the courtroom closer to the moment when Smith would be held accountable for the lives he had taken. Smith appeared calm as witness after witness laid out evidence against him. It was almost as if he believed he could escape the truth. But the smoking gun came when the prosecution presented something that couldn't be ignored: Smith himself. His own words, his own actions, the evidence from his phone, the videos he had taken, and his detailed confessions. In the end, a jury of 12 men and women didn't take long to reach a verdict. They delivered it, guilty on all counts. Then came the sentence, 226 years in prison. It was a life sentence in every sense. No possibility of parole, no chance to ever see freedom again. His twisted reign was over, and the justice for his victims had been served. Smith was careful not to provide Alicia Youngblood with any proof that could tie him to his crimes. Alicia left Alaska, and the authorities later received news that she had passed away in Oklahoma. Her death was believed to be a suicide, a tragic end for someone who had once been determined to expose Smith's crimes. Then, in 2024, another woman was positively identified from the vast collection of photos from Smith's phone. Several photos were found in his phone in which she was either unconscious or dead. Cassandra Boskovsky is missing since 2018, but her family believes he killed her.
Since that time in 2019, Cassandra Boskovsky has not been seen by anyone. No one has heard from Cassandra.
In photographs, Cassandra Boskovsky smiles widely at the camera.
The evidence uncovered in his case hints at a pattern, a dark urge that didn't start or end with Kathleen Henry, Veronica Abuchuk, and Cassandra Boskovsky. The sheer number of SD cards recovered from his home suggest he operated under the radar for far too long. This isn't just a story of what happened, it's a warning of what can still happen if we don't remain vigilant. The search for answers doesn't end here. As South African authorities dig into Smith's past and investigators reopen cold cases, the possibility of uncovering more victims feels less like speculation and more like inevitability. This story is far from over. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more in-depth coverage of stories like this. See you in the next one.